Before we get into the video, I want to talk to you guys about the OneFootball app, because for me it's the best football app there is on the planet. It's great for team news, transfer news, player statistics, league tables, all of that good stuff. So you can use the link in the description down below to get the app for free. And it's actually now even better than ever, because now you have full Serie A coverage once again for free. So that's league tables, but more importantly, game highlights. And also, once every game week, you can watch a match live, literally for free. Zero cost. The next one will be on the 1st of October after the international break, and it will be Empoli at home to AC Milan. A game that I'm really looking forward to watching, and you guys should be too. If you are interested, make sure to use the link in the description down below. I really do highly recommend it. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today I want to talk to you about that man on screen there, Marcus Rashford. But before that, I want you to take note of the colour of his shirt, right? And now, if you look just under the video, there's a button which is a very similar colour, and it says subscribe on it. If you could press that, it literally takes like half a second to go, or just to click it. Really appreciate it, because I'm trying to push to 10,000 subscribers before the World Cup starts. Your support on the channel this year has been incredible. Let's see if we can make 10k before the World Cup. Anyway, as for the video, today I want to talk about Marcus Rashford. Now, we are in the middle of an international break, but you know, being an England fan, it's quite sad at the moment, so I thought I'd go back to talking about Manchester United, because they make me a bit more cheery at the moment. And one of the reasons for that is because Marcus Rashford has been scoring goals and giving Manchester United wins. I'm here today to discuss, is he playing this position long term? Can he be Erik ten Hag's striker? And if the answer to that is yes, why is that yes? If it's no, why is it no? Is there certain games he can do it? Things like that. You get the gist of it. I'm sure you've been around on the channel for a bit. But let's talk about Marcus Rashford. He's 24 years old, right-footed, just over 6 foot tall, English of course, and he's made a lot of appearances for Manchester United for a 24-year-old, and he's spent a lot of games playing on the left wing. I think I've got a graphic for it. We can see here 151 games in his career on the left wing and 124 as a centre forward. The question now, kind of at this point in his career where he's 24 years old, he's an established starter at a high level, what is his best position? Now, Erik ten Hag has been using him as a striker, this kind of main number 9 in the team. I want to discuss whether or not I think that can continue, and spoiler alert, the answer's no. And I'll give my reasons for that. Okay, so first of all, let's look at the positive sides of Marcus Rashford. So in terms of under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, whilst he was in charge of Manchester United, Marcus Rashford got the joint most goal involvements. That's 77 goal contributions under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Really impressive. Really impressive. Joint with Bruno Fernandes, and then 26 clear of the next best, Anthony Martial. Really impressive numbers. If we look here in his career so far, in the 18-19 season, 10 goals in the Premier League, 2 goals in the Champions League, 1 in the FA Cup. The next season, 17 in the Premier League, 1 in the Europa League. Then the following season, 11 in the Premier League, 2 in the Europa League, 6 in the Champions League, 1 in the Carabao Cup, and 1 in the FA Cup. And I would say this has kind of been his best period as a footballer, this 3 years, and then last season his form dropped off. So, don't want to talk about that too much for now. I want to focus on the positive side of things. The issue for me is a lot of these numbers have come playing from the left wing. However, like I keep saying, he has started the season well up front. And what is the reason for that? Well, in my opinion, 1 at centre-back doesn't make sense. That's my opinion. In my opinion, a lot of the reason for that has been the opposition that Manchester United have been facing. So Manchester United have had a couple of games already this season against teams that like to push quite high up the pitch, whether that's Liverpool, whether that's Arsenal, or even someone like Southampton. And what this means is that if Manchester United are happy to sacrifice possession, sit behind the ball, which they have been thus far in the season, then if they win the ball back, they're able to play in transition. And we know that Marcus Rashford loves to run in behind... Oh, that's Varane, trying to get the ball. We know that Marcus Rashford loves to run in behind the defence, and this is his weapon. And he's very good at it. It's kind of been his trademark throughout his career, since he made his debut back in 2016 with that performance against Arsenal. His trademark has very much been exposing a high line and getting in behind the defence. I am just going to quickly interrupt because we do have another sponsor for today's video, and that is jerseyfifa.com. The website you need to head to right away to get yourself the latest and greatest football shirts, all at an extremely affordable price. The link will be in the description below, so head there right away to get yourself a great shirt, again at a great price. Now back to the video. So, you would think perhaps he can play as a striker, particularly in big games, but I'm still just not sure that it suits him entirely. Now, if you remember the game against Liverpool the other season, there was a game where Rashford played up front as a solo striker, United looked to transition, and Rashford was caught offside a good 5 or 6 times. I just don't think he is a natural striker. Now, will he always offer this threat in behind? Yes, he definitely will. He will always offer this threat in behind, and as a 1v1 finisher, he is actually pretty good. I've been impressed with some of his finishing already this season. Now, at times his shot selection does need to improve, but overall, in general, I think Marcus Rashford is a good finisher. And, of course he is, to produce these numbers, and these numbers. So, of course he is good in the final third, and I think against a team that plays a high line, Marcus Rashford does have a threat to carry. So perhaps in that sort of game, yes, he can be Manchester United striker. Against Arsenal, against Liverpool, against Manchester City. Those sort of teams, the back fours that play quite high up the pitch, I think Rashford can carry a threat running in behind. The issue more so for me is when you come up against a team who are happy to sit a little bit deeper, and you've got to try and break them down. They're sitting in a low block. Is Marcus Rashford the man you want in the box? In my opinion, the answer to that is no. Now, the reason for me that the answer to that question is no is because I don't think Marcus Rashford is a very good penalty box striker. Now, he's a scorer of good goals. Marcus Rashford scores good goals, you can't deny that. Is he a good goal scorer? I think there's a difference. A scorer of good goals might score 10 goals a season, which are really impressive goals. A good goal scorer is going to get 25 a season, and they might all be tap-ins. That's what strikers feed on. And it's actually something that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer spoke about quite a lot, that Manchester United didn't kind of have that penalty box poacher, that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the team, and Rashford still isn't that. So let's talk about a low block and Manchester United's approach to this sort of system. Well, a lot of the time we're kind of seeing Bruno Fernandes and Eriksen playing slightly higher, Malacia and Dalot playing slightly tucked in, and a lot of the attacking threat is coming from the width of players like Sancho and Antony. And of course, when that happens, one option, particularly under Ten Hag, is to cross the ball into the box. Now, we saw that for Ten Hag with Ajax last season. There were a lot of crosses into the box for Haller to attack, and that led to a lot of goals. So we know that is something that Ten Hag looks for in a striker. Marcus Rashford, just straight off the bat, we don't really need to talk about this too much. Rashford doesn't offer that. Rashford is not a penalty box striker in the sense that he's going to really compete in the air with defenders. He'll score a couple of headers a season, but not very good at it at all. So he doesn't help in that way. The other solution Manchester United have at times to low blocks is perhaps an overload on one side, over on the left-hand side here, and then you switch the ball over to the right, and you get an underlapping run, perhaps from a fullback, or it can be a midfielder, and then a cutback. Again, is Marcus Rashford right for that sort of role? I don't think so. Now, don't take this as hate. I think Marcus Rashford is a great footballer. He's one of my favourite. I really love him. Everything about him. But as a striker, I just don't think he offers this. He's never been one to really bust a gut to get across the centre-back, in front of goal, and put it in the back of the net. That's never been his game. He's not a poacher. So, in terms of if we're talking about an Erik Ten Hag striker, what he wants, we saw last season with Ajax and Haller, that is what he wants. However, there is also a different type of striker he wants, and to look at that, we have to rewind back to 2019, when Dusan Tadic was converted to a false nine for Ajax. And his role in the team that season was very much to kind of drift between the lines, but also come very deep and link the play. So the question is, can Marcus Rashford do that? If he can't be your box striker, can he be your false nine striker a little bit? Someone that drops deep, brings others into the game? Not really. Now you kind of see the problem. So if we go back to the game against Southampton a few weeks ago, I covered the game and I said one of the big issues in the first half was that Bruno Fernandes was playing a little bit too high, and what it led to was a very disconnected team. No connection point between the midfield and the attack. Sorry if I just hit the mic. But there was no connection point because Rashford wasn't really dropping into these areas, playing a simple 1-2 and then going from there. And that was an issue. It isn't Rashford's game. Dusan Tadic done it for Ajax. Rashford didn't in this game. Now in the second half we did start to do it a little bit more. We saw about a 15-minute spell where he was doing quite simple things, but it was certainly more effective. And he was just getting the ball in this sort of area, dropping deep, getting the ball, and then the ball could be cycled wide, and now United were able to move forward. I'm only asking for a very subtle movement, but it is a movement that Rashford doesn't really do. So in terms of playing as a striker, whilst he has been doing very well early in the season, I don't think Marcus Rashford is suited to play as a striker in Erik Ten Hag's system. I just don't. Now, the good thing for Rashford, if we go back to his profile, is he is still 24 years old, about to turn 25. And perhaps, I don't mean to discredit any previous managers, but perhaps for the first time in his career, which is remarkable at nearly 25 years old, he's working with a truly great manager and coach, perhaps for the first time. So, I do believe Ten Hag could convert him. We could see Ten Hag really develop Marcus Rashford into a player that loves dropping deep. That could happen. We could see Rashford becoming that, a player that loves dropping into these areas. We also could see him improve his movement in the box and be a good header of the ball, or someone that gets across the near post, things like that, scores a lot of tap-ins. But in terms of at this moment in time, for this season, do I think Marcus Rashford is what Manchester United need up front? Personally, I don't. Now, like I said, he does offer something in those big games where you can kind of get in behind. But actually, even then, is he that great at it as a striker? Now, people will point to the fact that he started the game against Liverpool and also against Arsenal. He started both of those games up front. And in both of those games, he got at least one goal from running in behind the defence. So people will say, yeah, of course he can do that. But actually, if you recall, in both of those games, it was when Manchester United made a change and moved Rashford that he got the goals. So in both those games, I thought he actually had a pretty good first half, right? But what happened in both those games was we either saw, I think it might have been Ronaldo in both games actually. We saw, for example, not necessarily, but for example, someone like Sancho coming off, Ronaldo coming onto the pitch up front, and Rashford moved out wide. And like I said, it's very easy to kind of look back on it and say, Rashford played up front, he ran in behind, he scored. So of course he can play that way as a striker. But actually, he didn't score those goals from playing up front. He scored those goals from playing wide. And it makes the run a lot easier. See, if you're playing as the centre forward, let's put Rashford back up front, and you make a run across here, because of the nature of the run, the ball has to be perfect because the player on the ball is often playing such a straight pass. A straight pass is quite a difficult one to get right. Whereas if Rashford is coming from wide, one, the fullback doesn't necessarily want to track. Fullbacks can switch off in these situations a little bit, and also you can get on the blind side of defenders. And on top of that, for the player on the ball, it's more of a curved pass. So it's easier for everyone. So Rashford's his pace and his threat in behind the defence is actually a lot better from the left wing. Now, that would suggest that in big games, Rashford should play as a left winger for Manchester United because of that pace on the counter-attack in transition. And that is certainly something that I would consider moving forward once Martial is back fit and firing for United. But the question is, can Rashford do, play this position against the smaller teams, against the low blocks? I genuinely don't know the answer to this. And actually, that's a question I'd like to ask you guys. Can Rashford play left wing against a low block? Now, of course, Jadon Sancho is an option. But take Sancho out of the equation for a moment, how good do you think Rashford is in that role? Because United have faced low blocks over the past few seasons, and Rashford has produced numbers. The evidence is there. You can't question it. He has done it. I'm showing you the numbers right now. You can't question it. Marcus Rashford has produced the numbers often against low blocks. But there is still that question mark, isn't there? Because he's not the most creative player. He has a good link up with Luke Shaw in the past down the left, but in general he's not particularly creative. His decision making on the edge of the box is often poor, often looking to dribble when an easy pass is on, or shooting when he should be slipping in a teammate. Things like that. I do wonder if this is a really important point in Rashford's career, I think, because I think he's got to a point where he's become a little bit one-dimensional. And I don't like to say that because I love Rashford. Like I said earlier, I really do love Marcus Rashford. He's one of my favourite players in this United squad. But he's become a little bit one-dimensional, and I think against a low block he doesn't offer too much in terms of breaking a team down. Now, like I said, of course, against a bigger team where they play a high line, leave space, Rashford's a big threat. But if I want to answer that question that I said at the start of the video, can Marcus Rashford be Ten Hag's striker long-term? I don't think so. Because I think Ten Hag ideally he wants someone that can do both. But if he had to pick, he wants someone that can either drop deep, pass the ball, link the play in between the lines, or he wants someone who can get in the box, act as a bit more of a focal point, be a target for crosses, sniff out chances, sniff out cutbacks in particular. We know Ten Hag likes cutbacks. I don't think Rashford can do that. Answer the question, stop rambling on. To answer the question, the title of the video, can Marcus Rashford be Erik Ten Hag's striker long term? I don't think so. I think we'll see games this season where he does play up front, particularly in the bigger games, and I will cover all of them, of course. But I just don't think he has enough of a skill set at the moment. Now, like I said, fortunately, he is still 24, turning 25. He's a good age where he can learn. And he always seems like a hungry character, so I think he is someone that would be willing to learn and adapt, and Erik Ten Hag is the perfect manager to help him with that. So maybe we will see it change. At this moment in time, I don't think Rashford is the striker that Manchester United need. In terms of left wing, not quite either, and that's the kind of the awkward position he's got him in. But I do think, like I said, against big teams, he can carry a massive threat. So I think at the moment it's a bit of a rotation policy. Anthony is going to start games for Manchester United on the right wing because we know how much Ten Hag loves him, and he knows Ten Hag's system. In terms of the left, I think Sancho and Rashford might battle it out a little bit more, I think if a team is playing deep like this, then Sancho will be the man to try and unlock them. But I think if a team is playing super high, like so, then I think Marcus Rashford then becomes the man because of his pacing behind. And I think that's the situation we're in at the moment. Rashford's clearly a very good footballer, got a lot of talent and a lot of potential to grow further. He's got a great goal record, a lot of experience for his age, but I think he's at an important stage where he needs to develop, make sure he isn't too one-dimensional. However, with all that being said, he still has a big part to play for Manchester United this season, because whilst United are defending well and able to hit on the counter-attack, Marcus Rashford is a huge threat, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Marcus Rashford in terms of striker or left wing at the moment. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Lost my voice a bit there. Do you agree with the things I've been saying? Do you think he should be a striker for Ten Hag this season? Do you think he should be a left winger? Do you think he should be starting every game? Or do you think it's more of a rotation policy depending on the opposition? Let me know what you think, and also please, please, please press that subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.